Hi, you guys. I am here with my soul sister, Sarah, and I want her to first introduce like her amazingness, and then I actually want to share just like my thoughts and everything and just have my own personal introduction for you too.
Ooh.
But Sarah, take it away for us.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I am a certified freediver, a yoga teacher, and a sound therapy practitioner. Currently, I'm living in the desert, so I cannot practice freediving, but I do I hold sound baths every other Saturdays here in Vegas, and I think that's like the main introduction that I would say. I'm a lover of life, lover of nature, respectful of Mother Earth, and just all in all, conscious girly. I would say, like I love taking care of my body. I love taking care of my mind. I love taking care of other people and other beings. And I'm a caretaker.
So good. No, she's like caretaker, but like I see such a strong warrior activist that like you shining your light that way, it truly inspires me a lot. And that was beautiful. I can't wait for us to just dive deep on like yoga and how that got started for you and the things you've overcome. But I just want to share with you guys just like who Sarah is to me. So like Sarah said, she hosts ceremony sound bowl guided meditations here in Las Vegas. And to make a long story short, because I want this podcast to just be all about spotlighting you, sister. But I had lost, this story, I had lost my mama, and something about losing her and feeling this like strong connection to her and having those little aha moments, it guided me to finding both you and Mariah's women's circle. And it was like our ancestors just orchestrated this like time and space of us like surrendering and being in community. And it's just so crazy too, because when I found the post, I went on your Instagram and turns out I was actually following you on my old Instagram page. And looking at your post, I'm like, whoa, like she's Filipina. She's like speaking her truth about Philippines, our motherland. And it just sparked this like deeper understanding of like how I want to continue to come back to remembrance and my roots. This is going to be so good. This is for...
I love that. Thank you for that.
Yes, no, thank you. Thank you for just like, again, like showing up as you are. Don't be
We're gonna cry and it's only in like 5 minutes. I can see her eyes tearing up and I'm like, don't start it.
I know. Okay, well, like husa. Not me getting simpy.
This is sisterhood.
This is
it.
sisterhood.
Like, yeah.
This is soul sisterhood. This is like what our souls truly crave in community and belonging and healing that sister wound. Oh my God, there's so much goodness. So Sarah, I just have here some notes because I just really want us to like really dive deep into like all the juiciness that we plan on just sharing. But I would love for you to tell our viewers, who do you think this podcast and like getting to know you, who do you think this podcast is for? Like, because I feel like this is for our spiritual girlies who want to deepen their connection. Yeah, share with us. I would love
I feel like it's for people who want to show up authentically as themselves. It's like I think people around me, they know that I show up authentically as myself. And it's like I have this I don't give a fuck attitude. I'm going to say what I have to say. But also it's like
all with love.
Yeah, with
and
love.
Truth.
It's like I want to be able to express myself, express the truth of this world, and to be able to do that in a way that's not coming from hate or like my ego that I know it all. I don't know it all, but I know some stuff. So
it's like our own inner wisdom and like the intention behind. I totally...
Yeah. And I feel like that's this pod is for the girlies or the men who want to show up as themselves and just, I don't know, like a lot of people tell me like, you're brave, you're courageous for doing this, saying that. But sometimes I don't see it. But when people point it out, it's okay. Like okay, yeah, I'll accept it, you know.
You receive it.
I
Feels
receive
nice.
it, yeah. And so I feel like it's for those people who want to find courage and bravery to kind of like speak their truth and express their truth and just be loving too in expressing that truth. Because sometimes people express their truth, but it's coming from the shadow.
It's coming from the shadow. It's coming from the ego. And I love that you even mentioned that too, because I feel like me also diving into like, shedding that layer, I had to question like, why, what's the reason of me posting this, you know?
Yeah.
Like I used to do a lot of just like I still love taking selfies and stuff,
Of
but like
course.
where is it coming from? What kind of attention do I want?
Are you thirst trapping? Or are you just embodying? Are you just embodying the
That, like,
divine feminine? Like you
yes.
just want to express yourself? Are you seeking
Yes.
that external validation?
It's two different types
No,
of
yeah. It's a different kind of energy and it's also different intentions, right? Instagram wants us to thirst trap, and that's the stuff they want to push out, but
and it's like
I'm gonna thirst trap, but also I'm gonna be like compassionate about it.
like I'm gonna have like my own like true intention of like, okay, I'm posting this because
Yeah.
so
Oh my
good.
god.
This is just like we're only, you know, when I looked down, it was exactly at 4 minutes and 44 seconds.
Ooh. The numbers. She loves the numbers, numerology and stuff. Ooh. Dance break, song break. we gotta chant a little bit.
We gotta like, this is just great. So
I love it.
all right, so let's dive into it. So Sarah, tell us, I want to know like just your background and journey. You did share with me a little bit too, just your personal journey, you getting into yoga and even you living in the Caribbean and what that was like. Ooh, take us on that journey. We would love to hear.
I won't say names because we got NDAs and stuff. Back in 2016, I moved from the Philippines to the Caribbean to work for someone. He's a big name in the online casino industry. And I worked for him as his executive assistant and personal assistant. And this gave me just like this insight or like an experience of what having that amount of money does to a person. You know, it's like you have access
it's like
to
feeding your ego and like in a sense like wounded masculine energy.
Ooh, and he's a Gemini too. So it was like I worked for him because I wanted to, you know, like get that abundance and energy and
Live somewhere else too, I'm sure.
yes, experience life, you know, and I wanted to like start my own business. I don't know what business it was at that time, but it was like I want to work here for a few years, get my savings in and build my business. And but the experience of being with someone who has all this abundance, all this power, you know, there's this it was just wounded masculine for sure. You can see like how
you can see his shadows
and how he treats people.
Yeah.
And I think for me as an Aquarius rising and moon, thrive in, how do you say it? I thrive in Filipino word in my head, but I can it's like pakikipagtao, pakikitungo, or
is that like are you saying like community? I'm gonna try to pop apart what you're thinking.
So it's like how you treat people.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
like
so
integrity.
it's like yeah, and I feel like how I saw him treat people wasn't connecting or aligning with how I do treat people, and it was just not good. We would party every weekend in a yacht, like having girls there, having all the just like partying.
We're
in the Caribbean, so everyone's twerking their asses off, everyone's drinking their rum, and everyone's like smoking their weed. You know, it's like exactly. Everyone's just enjoying, and it's like I don't know. It felt like everyone was just getting paid to party with him, to be with him, to experience that life. And there was no authentic friendship. I didn't see any family that went to visit him, didn't have real friends who went to his house to like send him gifts. It's because everyone's just like there for the abundance that he has, not
Yeah.
really for who he
It's
is.
for his money.
Exactly. I'm there too for the same reason, but I
Right.
wanted to like have that connection because I'm working for him.
Right.
So it's like kind of like he's an extension of me or I'm an extension of him kind of
Right.
thing.
It's
That's
just
how
that
I saw it.
the values just weren't.
Yeah,
you
it
were
weren't.
noticing.
Yeah, and then while we were in Cuba, something happened, and I just felt disrespected, and so it's like, okay, I'm gonna leave. Like I didn't
Yeah.
tell him I was gonna leave. I flew back to
It was like
Antigua.
you're like almost in a sense just like fed up with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I was. It was. I felt like I lost myself in that process too of like working for him. And so when I went back to Antigua, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna see like what's gonna happen, like how this is gonna. I have no idea, honestly, what was gonna happen next. I was like, okay, like,
You just trusted, it seems like.
yeah. So I went back to the Philippines, and when I got there, I was like, you know what? I don't want to work for anyone anymore. I just want to work for myself. Like, I don't know what that looks like. I didn't have an idea of like what my path was. Like, I
Yeah.
have no idea. Like, I'm just like stepping like each foot, like, okay, which direction am I going to go? And then a friend of mine, like, just rewind for a little bit. When I got back to the Philippines, I was so depressed. I was just locking myself in my room for like 2-3 months and just like not seeing anyone, just like in just in my dark, in my, what do you call that, the
Kind of like a dark night of the soul.
yes, yeah,
You had to go through that.
yeah. And like there were thoughts, like it was just too dark that I was like caught the thoughts, and I was like, oh shoot, this is not where I want to be. This is, I wanted to do something different. And then I just was looking for inspiration and where I'm gonna go, like what am I gonna do. And I kept watching like documentaries about the earth and just like like David
Wow.
Attenborough. Yeah, David Attenborough
that?
documentaries. So he's this old guy who's, I'm not sure, environmental scientist, or
Okay.
but he has a lot of documentary on Netflix, and he's like a Morgan Freeman, but in
Yeah,
a
but
sciencey way,
All about like the earth.
Yeah.
That's what I'm envisioning.
yeah. Sorry if I'm murdering David Attenborough's description, but I'm just not sure if they're
get
right.
it.
Yeah, David Attenborough. But I was watching all these, then there was this one documentary that kind of like hit me, and it's like about the corals, because I really love to swim. And
And did you do your deep diving like certification prior, or it just maybe
No.
the ocean?
I would always be in the ocean because I was
Yeah,
also
in the
living in the
Philippines.
Caribbean.
Oh, yeah.
Like we would snorkel, we would skimboard, and like all the water activities. And I just feel like I'm just a beach girly, like I just want to be in the beach. I just want to tan. I want to be under the sun, my toes in the sand, like. Yeah. And so when I saw that documentary about like, it's a movement about plastic, like plastic free movement, that kind of like
Save the turtles.
yes, exactly, the plastic straw taken out of the turtle's nose, and that kind of like sparked something in me, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna change my lifestyle. I changed everything from trying to be as plastic free as I can. You can't really like go zero waste without
Right.
like, you have to put so much effort to it. So it was
Yeah.
like less plastic is what worked for me, and just being like intentional with the products I use, like products I use that's not like with chemicals and stuff, or like
Yeah.
packaged in a good packaging that's good for the earth. And that kind of like catapulted me to so my friend invited me to this yoga class, and I was like, I've done yoga before. It was all right. It wasn't really like something that like was calling me at the time I first tried it. And then so my friend Alex invited me to this Jiva Mukti class, and
What is Jiva Mukti?
shoot, I'm gonna murder this again, but
That's
I
okay.
feel like Jiva Mukti is more of, it's a faster paced yoga. There's a lot of like sun salutations. It starts with like chanting mantras, and also it kind of like, it depends on the teacher on what their what they work on. And this teacher that we were working on, she's like vegan, and so that's the lifestyle she preaches. And I feel like there was this one class where she talks about dharma and like what your purpose is, and I was like, shoot, what's my purpose? Like that whole class I was like, what's my purpose? Like, why am I here? And opened up that practice, opened up a lot for me. And it kind of like pulled me out of depression as well. Cause I like, after that first class, I would go to the next class, and I would like go to classes before I go to work. And it just gave me so much space that I was able to kind of like self reflect, look inward, and was like, why am I doing the things I'm doing? And that's kind of like, now it's like a stable foundation for me of like, okay, why am I offering a community sound bath? Why am I here with Mary right now? It's like, there's a reason for everything. And I feel like your energy and the reason that you do the things you do is, I don't know, supposed to like founded from your values, I feel like. And that creates so much integrity within myself, within the relationships I have, and just that's just how I want to walk this earth while I'm in this life.
That's so good, so good. I feel like that was just like your first ever even just like initiation into like your dharma, like the fact that those seeds have just always been planted for you, just so beautiful to hear. I remember you did mention that you also describe yoga as not just like a form of like workout, but like healing. So I would love for you to just even maybe someone is like considering wanting to do yoga. What is a good, because what was the word you said? What kind of yoga that you did with the vegan instructor?
It was a Jiva Mukti class.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I can't really like explain what it was, but it was just like the movements were faster than like hatha yoga. And I don't know, it kind of like the movement helped with like kind of like stilling the brain, kind of like quieting the brain. And that is what yoga is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it wants you to move so that you can still the brain. And it's like once you still the brain, it's like that's the heaven on earth, as they say it. It's like once your mind is not running and overthinking, it's when you achieve heaven, or I guess be in heaven, in that heavenly space, right? And so
I love that.
What was your question?
Yeah, so maybe like, because I remember you mentioning too, like trauma informed and like the use of yoga for that. What would you say maybe for those listening in, like what type of yoga should they maybe dive into if they're first starting out? Maybe this is like the breadcrumbs that they're following to find their dharma and come home to them. What would you say?
I feel like try everything.
Yeah.
Because it's not, I feel like it depends on your energy too. Like, especially if you're like high energy person.
A hot yoga?
Yeah, a hot yoga or like a vinyasa yoga would be good for you. But also if you're someone who's like wanting to like be stiller, maybe yin or restorative or hatha yoga would be good for you. It really depends.
You know, I love that you mentioned that, because I remember I did a Kundalini yoga class.
That too.
It was a lot of like chanting and like connecting with your breath. And I'm like, oh my gosh, have I not been breathing right this whole entire time?
Oh yes. One of my yoga teachers actually, while she was teaching class, she said that she went to this training where they had to look at corpses, and they saw like vessels, the blood vessels, like really
dark,
and that signifies like how the oxygen doesn't really not release, but more of like it doesn't really go so deep that it gets to the smallest grains of like your smallest crevices of the blood vessels. And so if you're shallow breathing and you're just breathing through your chest, the oxygen doesn't really go so far. It just goes to the nearest parts and not really up to your toes, to the tips of your toes, so to speak. And I feel like that's when I was like, oh, shoot, like I want my whole body to experience breath. And I was like, yeah, I think for me, breath is the most important thing. whatever practice you're doing, if you're doing gymnastics,
You
or if you're
always connect.
doing singing, if you're
Yeah.
playing instruments, or even just like playing with your kids, like just being with that breath, I feel like it's so powerful already.
So powerful, even when you're not even conscious of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say you go to, like, I don't know, Six Flags, you're getting ready to go on a roller coaster, and those feelings, it's really connecting with that breath, whether we know
Yeah.
it or not. So
Yeah.
I love that you touch base on that too, because I feel like all of this connects to like what you're passionate about.
Mhm.
And I would love for you to just share with us, like, she truly is this inspirational activist warrior soul sister that I look up to, and I love your passion for our motherland. I saw you wrote down about, like, we're here on Turtle Island. I would love to know, I joined your guys' like live towards the end and I rewatched. So this is the Balik
Loob, yeah.
Yes. Maybe you can share a little
Ooh,
bit.
okay.
Yeah.
So I have these two other ladies, Mariah and Iris, who is also in this re-indigenizing path, and we have a container we're holding, which is called Balik Loob, and it's re-indigenizing. Really means like going back to like the indigenous ways. You know, it's like the life that we are being sold at this moment is not in coherence with the earth. We're not harmonious with the earth. And I feel like re-indigenizing, not just like spirituality, just the way of life, but then also of like how our bodies need to go back to nature. And it's like,
so good.
you know how they say, like, you know, you need to ground, you need to do grounding so that you feel less anxious.
Connect, put your feet in the grass.
Hug a tree,
yeah.
you know, like all these things that they say. And I feel like that's it. Like,
It's this mycelium of
exactly.
everything. But we're all connected.
Yeah. And so the re-indigenizing just really means like going back to nature, and our bodies just going back to nature, and just nature in general. It's like we have to be back in sync in the circadian rhythm of this earth, and we've forgotten that because we've been sold this hustle culture. We have to have this materials and stuff.
Mainstream media.
Yeah. And now I feel like in communities where we are, it's a loud call. Not just with like in the community, but like our ancestors are like, hey, I don't know if you notice this, but in the spiritual community, there's a lot of talk about ancestors, about earth. And I feel like this last few years has been just about that. Just coming back to our nature, you know, decolonizing the mind and the body, and connecting the mind and the body into nature. And so that it kind of like reduces the anxiety and depression that we feel as humans.
Yes, I love that you are just dropping so many gems right now. Oh, good. Wait, let's see this sound. There's this. Wait, I don't think this one's the right one.
Ooh, that one. Dun, dun, dun.
That's so good. And I love what you said, because yes, back to just the mycelium, and like everything outside of us is connected through the roots. That's how they communicate. Yes. And I love this saying, and I feel like as I learn more about the true deeper meanings of as above, so below, so within, so without, it's just like that interwoven connection of like, we want to come back to Mother Gaia, you know, like that's
Mother Gaia's calling. Has been calling.
She's calling.
She's calling. This is the Filipino blood in us. It's like we just want to sing, we just want to dance, we just want to have fun.
I love that about our culture. It's just like we loved. I mean, I'm not like a singer like that, but I love karaoke.
Ooh, who cares? You don't have to be a singer, song art.
As long as like it's coming from like your joy, your happiness.
Yes, and then the highest form that you can use your voice is singing. But a lot of people do not say that they're a singer because they think that you have to like hit a certain note. But if you're using your true voice and just expressing it, that is the highest expression of the voice.
That part.
That part.
There's this song, Bakit Pa? We have to go karaoke one day.
We have. I feel like
love
we.
that song.
You know what? I was actually thinking like holding a circle where we would just like boodle fight, karaoke.
boodle fight?
So in the Philippines, they have this
This is why I
thing.
love learning from her, you guys. I just so inspirational. Okay,
So in the Philippines, there's this gathering where they put banana leaves on a table. And then they put the food there.
Yeah.
And then you just eat together, like with your hands and
what's
stuff.
the word for it again? you
It's
said?
boodle fight.
Boodle fight. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that name
Yeah.
comes from,
I
but
feel like I've heard of another saying for that kind of.
Kamayan too.
Kamayan,
Yeah,
that's what I've
because you're
heard.
using your hands.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, like, we should do like a Filipino circle where there's a boodle fight, and then we just have a karaoke and just like have fun, live life.
I have a karaoke
Machine.
Yeah, my uncle got it for me in the Philippines.
Oh, how
And
much more Filipino can you get? I love it.
Oh, okay. So when I was joining your guys' live and I rewatched your live, you guys all shared like is it like maybe the indigenous parts of where you guys are? You mentioned Turtle Island. How do we know like where do you go look for the indigenous roots or islands of like giving prayer to the land? I think that's so.
Mariah actually was the one who introduced me to land acknowledgement, and I think it's widely practiced here in Turtle Island, which is modernly known as United States of America. But in Native Americans, in the indigenous peoples of America, they call this island Turtle Island. I do not know the story behind it, but what I do know is I've Googled stuff, and a lot of Native American tribes do call the land Turtle Island. And so that is how we kind of like re-indigenize, is to be able to kind of like honor how the native people are calling the land.
I love that.
And Philippines, before it was called Philippines, it was called Maharlika, I think.
Maharlika.
It's like Maharlika.
It's like mahal kita. That's what it
Honestly,
sounds like.
right?
Yeah.
But
Which
I
means
think
I love you.
Maharlika is sort of what they say when you are from rich background. If I'm not, again, murdering that description. But there is a lot of talks in the community like, no, we were used to be called this before we were Filipinos or blah, blah, blah. But for me, what calls is Maharlika. And that also goes with like, if you look at the history of the Philippines before the Spanish came,
Yeah, give us a little history. right now.
our commoners were our commoners.
When you say commoners, what is commoners?
Just because, you know, the colonized people, colonizers actually called, you know, they have this hierarchy. So we'll just stick to that, because when they say commoners, it's like common people, right? And then you have middle class, and then you have the rich people. In our culture, even the commoners were wearing gold. They were dripped in gold from head to toe. They were wearing it as belts. They had it as bowls.
That's truly, really feel like adorning ourselves with gold really relates to our Filipino culture, because my mama, she always like, and she never took off her gold. Like she had this gold beautiful necklace, rings, earrings, and like I love that.
Did she pass it down to you?
I feel like I'm just so drawn to gold because of her, and like
Her pieces, did
Yes.
she?
Yes. Yeah. So like, I'm
That's
like
amazing.
like I just like keep it so close to
Yeah.
my heart, and just like I don't see myself like wearing anything else but just like gold pieces.
Yes.
Because it's
Same
like
girl.
it's like our embodiment of our ancestors. But I love that you're even sharing like this historical piece. So before I cut you off,
Yeah.
go back to
Yes.
saying.
So
so
we have that. You're so good.
You're so good. This is
Because
great.
if it wasn't that for anchoring, we would be somewhere else. But, just coming back to the Baliklo of container. And so my friend Iris, I just met her online. I haven't met her in person yet. But she offered to work with me and Mariah to kind of like have this conversation of who we are as Filipinos and kind of like come back to like our roots. And that's what re-indigenizing is. It's about coming back to our roots. Who were we before the Spanish came? What were our ancestors practicing? What did they believe in? And yeah, there's a lot of that. It's a 4-week container where we kind of like talk about who we are as Filipinos, decolonizing, re-indigenizing, and how we could preserve our culture as well. Because right now it's like everyone's in this call of coming back, but then also, you know, if we're not conscious of how we're coming back, we're kind of like appropriating our own culture, if that makes sense.
Can you provide like an example by that? Like
Okay.
appropriating our culture.
I think the conversation right now is calling ourselves babaylans.
What's babaylans?
So babaylans are like Filipino shamans in the Philippines, and there's a lot of islands in the Philippines, so they're sometimes called babaylans, they're called baylans, they're called
you guys are getting a
ablans.
sneak peek of your guys'
Yes,
sacred
a little
container.
bit, yeah.
Wow, okay, babaylans is
Yeah,
like
so they're Filipino
shamans.
shamans, yeah. And they were revered as like, if there was a hierarchy, they were top of the community,
Okay.
where they were medicine people. They could be
Yeah.
culture bearers, different modalities. Like they could be albolarios as well, or
What's
like
albolarios?
it's like it's like
I love this.
herbal medicine women, but then they could also be like spirit women or men, and also it's like babaylans knew how to do hilot, like what
What's
I mentioned
hilot?
before. I would say that hilot is like Reiki and massage infused.
Oh yes, you did tell me
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I would describe it, that is the description I would say. But again, do not quote me on this, but that's just how I interpret it. And so these babaylans, there are a lot of people who call themselves who initiated by the community.
So
and
it's a
like
process. You have to be.
it is a process, and it's like I could send you like documentaries of like
this
people
is good.
people who are initiated, like spirit initiated them to be babaylans, and actually people somehow, those people who are initiated do kind of like lose their mind because they don't know like
Right,
which,
because they need to be connected to that groundingness, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Wow, this is so good.
yeah.
I'm
And
so
so
excited
there
for
are
this.
a lot of people who kind of like want to reconnect with culture, and they're self-proclaiming themselves as babaylans, which is kind of like, for me, does sound disrespectful, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I took 20-hour shamanship class and then just call myself a shaman.
Right, it's like they're not. It seems like it's just that certification, and they're not really maybe in that embodiment.
Yes, yeah.
Right, like or practice.
Yeah. Not that certifications are bad or
Right.
whatsoever. It's like it is a space where you can get so much wisdom,
Yeah.
but just to like kind of, I don't know, it's, for me the word is appropriating it. It's
Yeah.
like you can't just say like I'm a shaman because I did a 20-hour certification, you know?
Right, and it doesn't feel that true.
Mm.
So I could see how that's appropriating
Mhm.
our culture. Are these people, when they call themselves this, like what are they like? Is it just like a name? Are they doing anything? Like what is?
They're usually in the spiritual space,
Okay.
healing.
Yeah.
It really depends on what they do. They sometimes do healot, or they do intuitive messages, or really different stuff, but basically mostly in the healing space.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the sacredness of the babaylans is being taken away because there are people who call themselves babaylan when they're
Right.
really
because you said
babaylans.
it's like an initiation.
Yeah, it is an initiation, and also it's like passed down to the root, like your ancestors. It passes down to you if you know your ancestors were babaylans in the Philippines, and
It's
now
like respecting that too.
yeah, just respect it. And I feel like a lot of people
That's so
do forget that these cultures need to be honored, respected, and preserved in a
Yes.
way that doesn't dilute the meaning of it.
Just as much as like our mother Gaia should be like respected where we come from, doing that generational healing at the same time, and yes, like honoring your ancestors in that way. That is so good. I'm so excited for this. You said this offering you guys are doing is like a 4-week container.
4-week container that I think every happens. It starts on October 6th on a Sunday, and then it's gonna be running every other Sunday. Yeah,
I love that. I love just like your calling of coming back to our motherland, Philippines.
I love the Philippines. Okay, so
share more wisdom, inner wisdom with us, because you know about my story. Just like I want to connect more with my ancestors, and like I grew up, like toxic Filipino culture, and like I didn't even want to be claimed Filipino when growing up, because
I was there too, sis.
So like now being in this time and space of like I want to know more about my culture. And like when I went to go visit my mama for her birthday, we stayed with my cousin, and I was telling her that my mama called it taco taco. It's like that prayer that she did with water. If like if I had a bad dream, and she would use these, oh my gosh, I just took a picture of it yesterday. I visited my papa, but it's like she gets water, she puts like these seeds in there, she like swirls it around, and she says like "Mekan Yunis," like she's calling my name back, and then she is like tying it with a cotton and a thread and putting it on my shirt, and like she's putting maybe the water and like doing a cross over my head, and she's just saying like this prayer. I remember she would like speak into the water.
Yes.
And
wow, your mom is a medicine woman.
And like tell me why, like I didn't, my mom or my aunties, they don't know any of this, but my mama did. So when I connected with my cousin that I stayed with in Delano, she told me she was helping me recall memories. Like, oh, do you remember your mama did the thing? I was like, yes, I remember now. And I just want to come back to wanting to, be more curious and like.
Yeah. I haven't heard, I've heard a lot of people, especially in our country where we're surrounded by water, that a lot of our ancestors do practice healing work with water. I haven't heard it the way you explained it, but what I remember with the cross thing was when there's this thing called usog in the Philippines, where they kind of like, how do I explain this? So for example, I see you and I was like, oh, you're so pretty, but the intention of me saying you're pretty is not coming from an intention of like wanting to like say you're pretty. So it creates this usog, or I don't know how to.
Like it's almost like you're saying it, but it's not coming from true intention.
Yeah. And so when I experienced usog, my tita came and she said, oh, like you're such a pretty kid. And then afterwards I started like vomiting. And
your body was purging?
my body was purging, and I just couldn't keep anything in. And I think I was like 9 or 10 at this time. And then my mom told her friend that, hey, nausog mo yung anak ko, like you usog my daughter. Or I don't think there's an English.
I feel like I know, like, but I feel like my auntie would say some things like that. I always like she would say
and then what they would do, so for example, if I'm the person who did it to someone, I would like lick my thumb and put the sign of a cross. And like what she did was she did it on my foot, on my belly, and on my forehead. She did that, and then afterwards I was good.
I love that you mentioned that you are reminding me of just like these things my auntie would tell me growing up. I mean, even one of them, just like when a moth comes, that's like your ancestors coming to visit you. But I want to know your take, because growing up, not really knowing my roots, but like, in that toxic Filipino culture, and then learning about like witches and like that there's so many witches in Philippines. But now I understand. I feel like it's just like our fear of like not really knowing. But these, I feel like they're like healers and
Yeah.
But
They were called witches because, like, I don't know if you've heard about the witch hunts in Europe before. I feel like that kind of like happened in the Philippines, that they were saying that the healers were witches and they were like bad
Yeah.
witches. But again, it depends on the person, like what your intention is. So you can be a good witch or a bad witch, right?
So you're saying like the people who do the usug, like, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Usug, like they're not really coming from a good intention.
Or just not good energy
Yeah,
in
good energy.
general.
Yeah. Because I would hear stories. My cousin was telling me like some witches, they have to do something to stay young. I don't know, like some folklore stuff
Yeah,
like that,
I think
right?
they're, you know, like, I
There's
feel
so
like
many-
these folklores are somehow true. Maybe there are people and witches that do kind of like siphon energy so that they can stay youthful.
Yeah,
But
so it comes
yeah.
back again to
Yeah.
that person.
Mm.
That's like that pendulum swing to light versus dark.
Yes.
And like staying again true to your own divinity, your own devotion. This is so good. Wow. Like,
Guys.
my gosh, I feel like this is gonna be like some kind of part 2 because we're just really getting deep in it. And like, I also have here, you know what? Let's go ahead and take an ad break because I would love for us to share.
My
Oopsie.
had a hole in it.
Uh-oh. Do you need good?
Yeah.
Said oops.
Oopsies.
But we're gonna take a quick little ad break. So we'll be back. An ad break.
I love it.
All right, you guys. So Sarah and I, we have an amazing Soul Sisterhood container that we are basically now launching for next month. And this is a co-creation that we just envision to just raise the collective consciousness here in Vegas, but not even that, just create a sense of community and to spotlight just, I don't even know where to start with that, but like, let's just start with what we plan on doing. So for Sunday, October 13th, if you guys can make it, we will have the event sales page listed down below. But we are infusing our just gifts together. Sarah will be guiding us with a sample guided meditation, and we are going to be infusing it with human design. Tell them a little bit more about the details of this like magical offering that we are co-creating together.
So it's a lot about aligning, right?
Yes.
Human design is
Your energetic blueprint.
Exactly. It's just like your source. Like, who are you at the core? And like, it's a lot of aligning and kind of like releasing doesn't serve you anymore and aligning with the things that serve you and just moving forward and kind of like, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of like aha moments for people who are gonna come and be like, that's the reason I'm like this. That's the reason why I operate this way.
And what I love about too of this co-creation space that we're going to be holding together is it's a sister circle share. So we all get to just like hold space and like share what has come up for us.
Yes.
But yes, when you show up, you're going to just be feeling our love, our just appreciation for you saying yes to showing up to your highest self. And yeah, like it's gonna be so good.
It's gonna be so good.
And I'm just so excited for us to just, this is like the start of what we just plan on co-creating with others, you know, highlighting other sisters to co-create with us for these future containers. And it is going to be held at Collective Studios LV. And yeah, you guys don't want to miss this.
You wouldn't want to miss this for sure. It's gonna be so amazing.
Yes. All right, and back to our episode. Yes. Yeah. And we're back.
We are back.
This is like a whole production.
I know, but it's just her. She did all this. I just came here and was like, okay, give me the mic.
It's just like we're just flowing. Like I'm just loving what's just coming through this transmission. Like truly like this is magic. We're creating magic.
We're transmitting magic right now.
Yes, it's everything. We're in like our own little fairy tale land. Like we said, our cottage is somewhere over there.
Like you could see our cottage in our little forest.
We just like pick some, like foraging.
Just eat it. Just be like, yummy.
Some Okay, so this was so good. Like, again, she is such a powerhouse. Just your devotion to. I just feel like my ancestors like put me here in this time and space with you because you truly are like you have this like older sister like essence about you.
Ooh, I love that you say that because I feel like I am an older sister and I feel like I truly embody that ate, that older sister energy. Yes, manang too. And a lot of people do call me ate. And I feel like I've been an ate to my sisters, to my sister girlfriends. I'm gonna embody that. I mean, I embodied it already, but I'm just gonna accept the fact that I am ate.
And the fact we did like a fun little we had a little girls get together and we did a little bit about her human design, and it's just even your energy type of being a projector, like seeing that bird's eye perspective, and like you are really like a true born like leader in the space. Like
oh, that's a lot. I feel like a leader is it has a lot of responsibilities and it does feel heavy, but I
feel like you just do it so like in this very like empowerment and in service. So in effect, like it doesn't even feel, like heavy. And the fact that we get to be again in this sisterhood space of like highlighting each other's energies too, which is like, okay, speaking of our co-creation together, I would love for you to share like, let's just start with like your offerings.
My offerings.
Yes.
So I do offer community sound baths every other Saturday. And you can check my Instagram for when that happens. But this community sound bath, my intention for this is to run it frequently. Like at least twice a month. And I want it to be a space where people
You're already doing that.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And it's like a space for people to have access to space where they could rest and pause and kind of like do nothing, because like yoga, you have to move and stuff. And I mean, at practices, you have to move, you have to do this, you have to do that. But I feel like with sound baths, you just have to like really lay down, notice your breath, notice what surfaces for you. And the simplicity of the practice kind of like pulled me in. Like, it's so simple, but it is so hard to be still.
Yeah.
Right?
Can totally like agree to that. I mean, just my own personal journey of like noticing my thoughts before and like noticing like how I really was operating from almost like a survival state of mind of just like what we talked about earlier, like hustle culture and go that I feel like I lived most of my life that way. And like as I dive more into my journey of like coming remembrance, it becomes so much easier to be present.
Yes, it does. I feel like as Geminis too.
Yeah,
we're airy energy and we just want to go. Like our brains does
Constantly.
not stop. It's just like constantly in the clouds, scheming stuff. Not in a negative connotation, but it's like we just think too much. And I've been in that space where I can't even sleep because my brain doesn't want to shut.
Yes. Yeah, because I feel like for me too, my like creative juices, my downloads come a lot online when I'm like in bed. I'm like, why?
I know. I had those. Like I had like a few months of that. Like I can't sleep. I would sleep at like 4 a.m. because my brain just like there's so much thinking. And I feel like practices like yoga and sound baths are kind of like what kind
it helps
like,
us to
be still,
to remember like the power of stillness and that presence. But I do love that like our Gemini airy energy really has this connection to like creativity and flow. You know what I learned? So in my Dharma coaching practice, they talk about the doshas. Have you heard about the
Ooh,
doshas?
yes.
And this was such an eye opener for me because, again, it was another modality, another tool that I can add to my own personal kit of like how to move through the doshas and like honoring
and know how to balance it too.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I'm a Vata.
Me too. I'm very Vata.
Airy. We're airy. We're ethereal.
Yeah, I love that. We're ethereal for sure.
And so when I learned about Ayurvedic and the doshas and like kind of like realizing and learning how to balance that air energy is like with food to eat a lot of root crops like ginger, carrots, potatoes, everything that's like from the root because we're like up in the air, and for you to balance that you have to root down.
I love that. I didn't really correlate the doshas that way with food, so like I'm kind of like, wow, I'm inspired.
That's how they, like in Ayurvedic medicine, when we go to like nutrition, that's how they kind of like, that's like what I saw on YouTube is how do you balance it? Because too much air creates imbalance, right? Too much on the ground creates an imbalance too.
Yeah, more
and so
like,
you have to like know how to kind of like
learn how to balance, like notice when that light, that creativity then starts to become overwhelmed. How can you move that then overwhelm into the pitta of like the action and like doing, because we could be so stuck into like the creative process where it's like, okay, I have all these ideas, it's not moving, now we're feeling overwhelmed.
Yes.
And then connecting it to that. But I love your take on just like food and like, yes, if we want to connect down to grounding our kapha energy, it's like roots, like you said. Now, can you give us, like us viewers, I'm sure some of them maybe don't even know what we're really talking about with doshas, so maybe we could tell them a little bit. So
I'm not well versed with doshas, but when I did come in contact or just kind of like learning about like, because when we talk about yoga, it's not just the physical movement,
right?
Like there's also that part where you have to eat according to your dosha. So I think how I would explain a dosha would be, it's kind of like knowing what energy or what elements of like earth, water, air, ether, and fire, which one is prominent in your body. And so as Vata, the prominent energy in my body is air and ether.
Yes, more the creative.
We're up there.
A lot of ideas, which then can turn into overwhelm if we're not actively pursuing those ideas.
Yes. And so rooting that down, like I was looking at Ayurvedic food and I was like, okay, so how do I create balance within my body if there's too much air? And I don't know if you notice this, but as a Vata, there's also a lot of like bloating within the body, or like just releasing air from the rear end.
No, for sure. I just started taking activated charcoal to really like play a part of my like kind of resetting my like biosystem, and I feel like it's been so great because for sure bloating. Now, oh, this is so good. I'm like cutting you off right now.
Go ahead.
But like you mentioned kapha, so like root food that come from the ground. What about now? Let's say you're in that phase for too long, so then that restful piece of being in kapha turns into like laziness.
Then you get stagnant.
How do you get back
to air?
Ooh,
I haven't really checked that out, but like I would
like
airy food like kombucha, like frizzy,
refreshing.
Yes, you know, like because for me, I feel like watermelon, cucumber, like water. And I feel like for airy food,
that's so good. Now, what about maybe when you want to get into your pitta? So pitta is like the action base, like
the fire.
And then when the shadow side of it is burnout, like let's say now you're from that overwhelmed space of like vata, what foods can we nourish our body? Maybe like warm foods?
I think warm, like turmeric, you know, it does create a lot of warm spicy stuff too. I guess like a lot of spice.
Yeah.
That's just how I
Kinda
understand it to be. Like, I'm not
makes
an
sense.
Ayurvedic doctor. It's just like
Same.
how I understood it.
It's our inner,
Yeah.
it's our own inner wisdom,
Yeah.
our own inner standing.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
And
I
so
love
that's how I understood Ayurvedic to be. And at some point in my life I was like, I want to learn more about Ayurvedic medicine, but I was just not led to that path. I just have a little bit of wisdom here and there about it. But right now, the path I'm walking is really like sound.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love our take on doshas.
Well-
That transmission just came through so good. Now let's circle back to,
Okay.
because I want to highlight again just like the passions you're doing right now and the things you have overcome to be in this time and space that you're in now. Talk to us, like the passions you're into. Talk to us more about what is coming through for you for that.
I feel like when you were saying passions, for me, what was loud was activism. There you go.
Okay. All right. We had some little things, so we need to think we left off. It like stopped recording, but we're back now.
Yeah. Ew.
All right, I believe it cut off where I asked you like your passions.
Mhm.
So let's just deep dive back, starting back right there.
Yeah. When you mentioned passion, it's a lot of fire. It's like passions coming from the heart. And I feel like for me, what calls for me is really like activism. Like just we mentioned earlier, since it wasn't recording, it was like being a rebel with a cause.
Yes.
Yes. And it's
Your auntie calling you
yeah.
a rebel without what did you
yeah,
say,
when I
without a
was
cause?
younger, she would always like just call me like a rebel without a cause. And now that I'm older, I feel like I'm still a rebel, but now with a cause, And a lot of this cause comes from just coming back to Mother Earth again. Started out this spiritual path as an environmentalist and just like protecting the ocean, going plastic free, becoming
So
more
good.
conscious of what I'm putting back on the earth and what I'm taking from the earth. And
I relate to you so much.
yes, sis. I feel like all of us are in the same path.
Yeah,
we
all had to start, like it was again the breadcrumbs
yes,
highlighting it for us.
Uh-huh.
For you, it was like the same. It was like the same thing with me, but it was like through like me being into makeup, but wanting to be conscious about what was in my products.
Yes. I don't
And that was
even
in high
put
school.
makeup anymore because of all the
Yeah,
stuff.
the
But
plastic.
yeah. Yeah. So I was so conscious about it that like even my eyebrow pencil, I didn't want it to be in plastic. I wanted the
Yeah.
pencil itself.
Wow.
And it's just those little things that kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, changing little things in my life. And then now I look back and I'm like, wow, it's like my toothpaste is even organic. It's like, it's
Yes.
Ayurvedic toothpaste. So yeah, those little things of
They
coming
play
back.
such a big part too, like
True.
conscious and aware of those little things, because it's a part of who we are. I love that you said like organic toothpaste. I forget the app. Maybe I'll like try to put it here somewhere. But me and Kiana found this app, and you can scan the like thing, and
The
it tells
barcode,
you,
yeah.
it tells you if it's good or not. And like that's what we do all the time when we go shopping for
Yeah.
like
Ooh, I
or
love
skincare.
that.
Yeah.
There
I'll find
was
that out.
there was this app too of like just being conscious of who is creating the products and like from what countries the products are coming from. So a lot of the mainstream products that we use are actually causing a lot of harm to other humans. Not
Yeah.
just like with our skin and stuff and our immune system, but it's also creating like conflicts in other countries. And
wow.
so it's like if you do like, I wouldn't want to say the brands, but there are a lot of
just
the commercial brands that we do
mainstream.
use, like they do create these conflicts and they do kind of like fund wars and stuff. And so it's like to be conscious of where we're putting
A
our
conscious
money,
buyer.
our energy I think is important moving forward. I feel like it's a sacred step for us to like move in harmony, like again, not just with earth, but with other human beings as well.
Yeah, because it's like, again, raising that collective
Mm-hmm.
consciousness and doing our part to be aware.
Yes.
So I love
Yeah.
your share on that. And that like brings me back to your love and devotion for unity.
Yes. I honestly, there has been this narrative that, you know, we are not one, like we are different from each other. But I don't know, like truly in my heart, I feel like we are one and the same.
I agree.
You know, I'm the
100%.
same as the clouds. I'm the
And
same
the
as
stars.
Aristotle right now. It's
Mhm.
like I am here on earth for a reason. Maybe that reason changes. The core of it all is to be in union with who I am truly inside and in union with where I'm putting myself and how I'm, again, just living life.
Yes, that's so good. I love that. I feel like we could go on and on, but like I do want to be mindful of our time and like so appreciative for everybody just tuning in on this transmission and just
Yeah, thank you.
wonderfulness.
Thank you for receiving and listening and just carving out your time to listen to what we have to say.
Yes.
And
So good. Like I just need to take a second to just pause because just everything we talked about, just from your initiation, like what you had to experience and like the dark night of the soul that like led you to your dharma, your soul's purpose, and like again this time and space of us being here together. And it's just so beautiful to just witness you and like for us to co-create just magic here in Vegas. I'm so excited. We're going to be talking about that in just a sec.
yes.
But I have one last question for you for our closeout. I meant to ask this in the beginning, but you know, we're flowing.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, how do you like to fill up your cup so that you can overflow? Speak to us on that. I love just like that question. Connection again with water, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like water has been so potent, and I feel like I could go on too about water.
Yes. I could go on too.
Okay, you're gonna catch us again next month
For sure.
talking about water. And I think our offering, the moon cycle is
It's a lot of air.
oh, it's air. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's air.
Just kidding. I was like, is it water?
Well, water and air are kind of the
The
same.
same.
You have to contain it, you know?
That's right.
And I feel like for me, it's
Tell
the
us.
container of space for me is what fills my cup.
I love that.
And what I mean by that is just having enough space so that I can sit down and let my mind wander. You know, it's like that air in my head needs to go in places for me to have that clarity.
Yeah.
And in that clarity, I feel that kind of like fills my cup.
Tell us, what does that practice look like for you? Maybe the
Ooh.
person like watching this,
It
they're
can
curious.
be very different like in the morning. What I
Yeah.
like to do is
Yes.
to be outside in my backyard. So it's either I'm
Wait, pause. Everybody, I love her morning voice memos she sends me.
Yes.
Literally, like I'm just waking up to just like a smile on my face because like I'm receiving just
Aw.
you know, just
I
her.
love that you love it. I send her like so when I'm in the backyard and just like having that space to think, you know, people pop up in my head and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna send you a voice note and to just tell you how I feel. And that's for me what fills my cup is to have that space to think and kind of just like allow my brain to go where it wants to go. And that's where I also get a lot of like inspiration because I trust my brain. My mind knows what it wants to express, and sometimes for me to know which voice to follow is to have that space. And I have this more like every morning it's different for me. Sometimes my morning would start with just like a warm cup of water and lemon, or it could be cacao, or it could be coffee. And then
or your tea.
or my tea. It really depends on what the day calls for. Today it was coffee. And then, you know, I would just be in the backyard watching the sun rising, listening to the birds. The last few months, the hummingbirds were like around, but I think
saw one this past week in my
Ooh,
backyard.
yes, but I think now that it's colder, they
They're
have migrated somewhere or hibernated somewhere.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I love listening to the sound of the birds, the watching the sun. Like sometimes sometimes when the sun's rays is touching like the plants and it just reflects, and I'm just like, wow, like I feel so grateful that I get to witness those little things. And I feel like we were told that it's the extravagant things that lights us up,
like the material.
yeah. But honestly, for me, it's just like, wow, I've
simple
seen a
things.
different color bird today.
It's
or like,
nature's beauty.
yeah, it's just that feeling of awe. I always have that feeling of awe in the morning because I get to like just sit down and watch Earth just move and flow. It once is flowing.
Yes.
And
I love
yeah.
that. I love that so much. And it's like you said, every morning is a little different, but it's that practice of stillness. I would say for our viewers who maybe want to do that, just invite in more slow mornings.
Yeah.
That goes back to like, we're so caught up in the hustle bustle, but like what maybe one small practice can you do, right?
Exactly. It doesn't have to be like a 3-hour morning routine. It can be just 10 minutes of like, okay, let me just
Say
sit
hi
down.
to the sun.
Yeah, sit down here,
Stretch.
doing nothing, not scrolling my phone. Just allow my to see what it needs to see, what it needs to witness, and
Beautiful.
just allowing. Honestly, that's just it. Just
So
allow
good.
yourself that.
It's like as you are like transcribing this right now and like walking us through this, I'm just envisioning like that sensation of and feeling of just stillness in the morning and like being present in that moment.
Yeah.
So I think that is such a good reminder. Thank you for sharing how you fill up your cup so that you can overflow. And this is so good. Okay. We are going to wrap things up very soon, but before we go, I think this is a great time for you to share like where can people find you? I know we talked about our offers, and so share like all your platforms, how they can get connected with you, anything else that can come through.
Thank you so much, sister, for spotlighting me. I really feel the love from you, and just like I feel so honored that she invited me here. Again, this is my first time doing a podcast, so I was kind of nervous, but just like knowing that it's gonna be with Mary just kind of like gave that feeling of just like to trust it. Whatever comes out of this transmission is what is meant to come out, and what's meant to be expressed, and I love that. And so if you want to find me, you can find me through my website, which is wildflowersoulyoga.com, and then I'm on Instagram as well, which is wildflow.er soul. You can also, I think, find my event Bright page from my website as well as my Instagram. And I currently started doing TikToks. So if you guys want to follow me on TikTok as well, I'm not sure what my handle is, but probably it's the same.
We'll put it down below too.
.er soul.
Beautiful. Definitely following you on TikTok, and thank you for just sharing your light, your gifts, your offerings, and just how people can get connected with you. And just wow, I love you so much.
No, this was so good. Thank you for inviting me. I feel like this was just like a coffee session with just all the stuff, But this is just like even the conversation we had when we had like our mini date. It was like this were the conversations we were having. You were like, let's put this on a podcast. I was like, yes, I want to do it.
You're seeing us just raw, real, just like really just staying true to showing up. I love that you shared that because, like stepping into the uncomfortableness to like, this is so new for me, stepping into doing podcasting, but yes, following the excitement, the fact that I could do this with soul sisters that I get to highlight and see and like receive that back, it's so healing.
It is. It's like, I feel like us women, we've been pit against each other for so long, but coming together is just so powerful.
So powerful.
It's like
we create so much magic.
We do. And so much love and like support. And I feel like I don't know, like other romantic relationships does not light me up as much as sisterhood. And it's like, even though you have conflicts with your sisters, finding the way to kind of like navigate the conflict and kind of like get back together and like kind of like
Yes.
talk and like take
Yes.
accountability for each other's actions and words. And I feel like that is what healing is for us, especially with our sister wounds, you know, like
That's
I'm
so
not
good.
saying we don't have sister wounds, we do, but to
mean,
be able to navigate.
to navigate it, be open to vulnerability.
Yes.
And it's like the intention of like love
Mhm.
too. So
Mhm.
vulnerability is such a big key. Love and like it's like as you continue to do the work for yourself, you know how to then like just again hold space for yourself,
Yes.
hold space for others.
Yes.
And like we really are just mirrors.
Yeah,
each other.
reflections of each
Yes.
other. It's like you can't deny it. I love this like emoji, the disco ball. It's
Oh,
like
yes.
it's just like a reflection of everyone around you, right? And
I
it's
love
like
that.
who I surround myself with is a reflection of me as well.
Period.
Yeah. Bum, 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 bum. That's a good button right there. I love that.
That's the go-to button. Oh, so good. Okay, you guys. I think this transmission deserves actually a nice like cheers to our tea.
Chaga ashwagandha tea.
Chaga ashwagandha. I love you, sister.
I love you, sister. See?
Now that you've heard Sarah's offerings, and I just really hope that there was just so much goodness you guys got from this podcast alone. We would love to even know, like, connect with us, share what like favorite parts did you like in this transmission that we just had.
Yes, please.
But other than that, like, you'll definitely be seeing Sarah more often on my podcast, and stay tuned for even just more amazing greatness, because this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
All right, you guys.
My club, you know, the era, my club era is just like dun, 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 dun. I'm like, yes.
We still got that like in us, but it's like the 2.0 version of
Yeah,
like
just more conscious.
wild woman,
Uh-huh.
like owning our goddess,
Yes.
like sensuality.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I know, like in my club era before, it was more of like, look at me, I can shake my ass. But now it's like I'm shaking my ass because I want to
That's from
work with my trauma and my hips.
Yes, yes, that part. All right, you guys. Until next time, we will see you on another episode of Mary's Fairy Tale.
Woohoo!